bracing for its first tropical threat of the season.
Yeah, we've got gusty winds and rain here on Fort Myers Beach.
So the breaking news, Hurricane Debby has made landfall.
That's some big wind, some big rain, and the rain hurts. We'd like to start trekking. Stand by.
Ground truth is what we're trying to give you. This system has just been remarkable.
Wind coming at me under tropical storm warnings here and getting sandblasted. From Tropical Storm Debby, as it is on the move, so are we.
This is Fox Weather Reports. I'm Marissa Torres. Debby left its mark on millions of Americans. The deadly storm hit Florida's Big Bend on August 5th as a hurricane and then lashed the East Coast with tornadoes and flooding, taking lives and tearing communities apart. The man who's been at the center of it all since landfall, that is intrepid Fox Weather correspondent Robert Ray, who began covering the storm with photojournalist Lloyd Alford and field producer and meteorologist Jared Maloney. They covered more than 1,600 miles of this storm's rampage across the East Coast. And in total, they spent 9 days on the road. Robert logged 150 live shots across every Fox platform, including Fox News, Fox Business, and all of our affiliate stations across the country. His first stop in the days leading up to Debby was Fort Myers Beach and Clearwater.
It is hurricane season, and people here know it oh so well. And look at this on Fort Myers Beach this morning. You wouldn't know there's a state of emergency here on the peninsula. We are waiting for this tropical depression 4 to turn into tropical storm Debby and make its way up the Gulf of Mexico.
The system is still way down by Cuba, and yet we've got gusty winds and rain here on Fort Myers Beach. This beach, 15 minutes ago, was loaded with people, and all of a sudden the wind gusts came and the rain, and everyone left as if Godzilla was coming in off the Gulf of Mexico. We've got outer bands beginning to come in here into Clearwater Beach. Guys, we've got a lot going on. We got a very strong band coming in right now. This is the heaviest winds that we've experienced so far, and rain that's starting to whip. And I've got a police officer who's about to tow my car at the same time. So, hello, welcome to the hurricane season.
And here we have Fox Weather correspondent Robert Ray. This can only be described as a superhuman feat. Robert, reporting and tracking Debby across hundreds of miles. You've covered 49 hurricanes in your career, including Debby. What was the preparation as you entered into this coverage?
Well, yes, hello, Marissa, and everyone watching. It was a team effort, as it always is, but this one in particular was interesting with Debby. You know, we knew that Debby had the ability to strengthen and turn from, a depression to a tropical storm and then possibly a hurricane. That's exactly what happened. The question was, where exactly would it make landfall? And so when we began talking about how we were going to cover this storm, all the way from preparations and meetings with meteorologists and team members in New York on conference calls, we decided, well, the best way is probably Fort Myers Beach, that we knew was so devastated by Hurricane Ian 2 years ago and then sideswiped by Idalia. And it was a place, on the southwest bottom of Florida, on the Gulf of Mexico, where Debby, as it made its way up, we could then assess exactly where Debby was going to head in and to make landfall. And so we all traveled on Friday and then, began our live reporting on Saturday from Fort Myers Beach. and we went through some of those beginning stages of rain and wind gusts as Debby made its way up. And it was still a depression at that point, but gusty winds and rain all affected all of us. And that is, photojournalist Lloyd Alford and meteorologist and field producer Jared Maloney. And we're all on the ground looking at this intently, as we all were back in New York City, including people like yourselves, others, on-camera meteorologists, behind the scenes, executives, really a family and a team of people putting all this together, and other folks that were on the ground for Fox Weather, like Katie Byrne, Nicole Valdez, Mike Seidel, who recently joined Fox Weather, a great addition. So all of us looking at this, and when we began in Fort Myers, Marissa.
It really is a team and family effort, right, as you put it. And life on the road isn't easy. You know that more than anybody, right? You ran into a big issue upon arriving in Perry, where you would be positioned for landfall. Take a look.
There was really no hotels available here. There's a couple hotels, a Holiday Inn and a Hampton Inn, both totally booked up. And then there was a local hotel. And let's just say there are bugs in the room. And those are called bed bugs all over the bed. There are roaches on the ground. I'm not even going to show you the room. I have the key still, but I've got everything out. I got in. I literally took a shower with one of the thinnest, worst towels ever, which is fine. And now I'm going to spend the night here in the vehicle. And it is a light rain right now. Let me see if I can get the window open. I'll show you the hotel. I'll turn the camera. And so, it's an old school motel here on the Big Bend nature coast of Florida. It's not a very populated area. And that happens. It does happen when you find yourself, Marissa and everyone, in a hotel that, maybe shouldn't be in existence. But that's really something that is part of the expectation when out covering these hurricanes and these storms. And, when we were in Clearwater Beach on day 2, which was Sunday, Jared Maloney, our meteorologist and field producer, we decided collectively that he was going to head up into the Big Bend while we were live reporting. And the reason he did that is to scout out locations. We were looking at Cedar Key, which is right on the Gulf of Mexico, though storm surge a significant problem, and a lot of the people that were housing anyone there, hotels or even B&Bs, were saying, no, we're not doing that this time. We just don't trust it, because no one quite knew exactly where the specific track was, and Adalia really did a number on a place like Cedar Key. So, Jared made his way into Perry, Florida, because he has some very good producing connections with the National Hurricane Center, which was incredible. And their guidance was, if you can't be just south of Perry, maybe you head there and you're likely going to get the eye wall. So that was what our expectation was. So after we ended our day 2 coverage on Clearwater Beach, Lloyd Alford and I made our way to Perry, where we met Jared. Got there about 9 p.m. Eastern time. And yes, we did. We walked into that motel and realized that was not going to cut it, certainly, when you have bed bugs and roaches and lamps with no shades and the air conditioning is in and out, and no thanks. So we decided that each one of us would try to get as much sleep as we could in the vehicles. Well, that can go either way. For me, it was about 20 minutes as we began to feel some of the rain and the winds coming in, and your adrenaline is just jamming. Cortisol is being pumped out of your body, and you're ready to go. And so that was the deal. It is what it is. But honestly, it's probably better to keep your eye on the prize, which is what the energy is outside, than get too far into sleep, especially before landfall, Marissa.
And speaking of that landfall, Robert, which I'm sure you're running on adrenaline at this point, Debby made landfall on Monday, August 5th. This was the moment right before landfall. Take a look.
What we're experiencing is the ebb and flow of these outer bands, and we're, right there getting some of the twist. Mike is to the south of us, and this is a little bit of an uptick in wind right now, and certainly the rain. And I have a helmet on, guys, and glasses, because we do have, when the winds kick up, aluminum flying around. And in fact, one piece right up here, Lloyd Alford on the camera. Take a look at that. The driving rain, you can really see it in the light, and some of this old sign beginning to unravel. We'll see if it can stay together.
Just a little while after that, after that live shot, you'd find yourself braving the elements.
We could potentially see a foot of rain in this area. The storm surge on the coast about 40 miles to the east, or the west rather, of where we're at right now. And again, I apologize that I cannot hear anything back in the studio, but nonetheless, guys, these visuals are as intense as we've had experience with Debby this morning. There's no doubt about that. Thing is what we'd like to do when this calms down in this area and the heaviest bands end here, we'd like to start trekking, stand by, we'd like to start trekking to the east to follow these bands as they move across. But if this is any indication as to the amount of rain that this region is going to experience, this is just the beginning, unfortunately. You know, we could see this stall out, and feet of rain come down over the next few days in these areas like Savannah, Charleston. Those are even here on the Big Bend in the Nature Coast. It's not a very populated area, but nonetheless, there are thousands of people that live in these pockets, and I hope that they are taking the heed and the warnings and they're not out on these roads, because we're going to start to see pooling and flooding as the wind drives all this precipitation across. But it is just amazing to me. And, you know, Lloyd Alford, Jared Maloney under a structure and a structure behind them, and we've got some blockage, thankfully, and even with that blockage, you see just the intensity.
You can also see your experience shine in all of these live shots, Robert. As we mentioned earlier, this was your 49th hurricane. Describe to us what it's like being in that eye wall. How did it measure up? How did Debby measure up with that first landfall?
Well, I mean, we were in the northwest quadrant of the eye wall, and as we know, that is not really considered the dirty side or the strongest side. But nonetheless, when you get the feeling and the fury of those winds coming in and then the rain driving, it is one of the most spectacular, just adrenaline-based, motivational scenario a human being can go through, and it's not safe. And that is why you heard me say, you know, the crew, along with our vehicles, were underneath a structure that was being blocked by another structure that we knew we were going to have protection in. But to feel that, it's one of those things where if you've not experienced an eye wall, it is frightening and it is adrenaline-based at the same time. And even though we had 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts, still, nonetheless, that is enough for all of that fury to put the fear of God in anyone standing out in it. That's why the helmet and the glasses, because you never know when aluminum and other debris is going to go flying in the roadways. Marissa?
Yeah, safety has to come first. And we see you wearing all the protective gear and taking those breaks when you need to, but it all has to go into the planning, right? And that's why it's a team effort to keep you and the crew safe, to continue to tell these stories. Robert, this was just the start of your journey, incredibly so. Chasing Debby. Debby had plenty of power left with a second landfall on the horizon. That's ahead when Fox Weather Reports Chasing Debby returns.